And today on Titan Sports Recap, Titan Baseball hosts their first series of the season against old-time rival Stanford. And speaking of basketball, we've got some details for you about March Madness. All this and much more on Titan Sports Recap.
Hello and welcome back to Titan Sports Recap, bringing you the best video coverage of Cal State Fullerton athletics. We have an exciting episode for everyone, whether you are at home, school, or even work. I'm Vanessa Martinez.
And I'm Daniel Montanez. Now let's take you to the action. In the top of the first, Titan pitcher John Gavin found himself in a bind as he walked in a run with the bases loaded. Later in the inning, Titans would answer back with an RBI base hit from first baseman John Estill. And in the second inning, Gavin would find his rhythm as he struck out two batters in a 1-2-3 inning after a rocky start in the first. In the third, he continued that good pitching, striking out another pair of batters in another 1-2-3 inning. In the bottom of the fourth, Estill showcased his strength, rocking a solo shot to left field, giving the Titans their first lead of the game. Now, let's take you to the top of the sixth, where Stanford fired back with their strong hitting. With two men on base, outfielder Johnny Locker hit a 3-run home run, giving Stanford back the lead. In the bottom of the sixth, Titans offense rallied back with an RBI double from Estill, who had a great game at the plate. Later, a base hit from outfielder David Barrera would advance the runners, putting pressure on Stanford's pitching, causing the pitcher to hesitate and balk at the mound, giving the Titans the lead 5-4 at the end of the sixth. In the bottom of the seventh, Titans would continue to apply that pressure with their hot hitting, with an infield single by Dustin Vaught. Later, Titans loaded up the bases with a walk to David Barrera, but the heavy rain would put a stop to the gameplay as the umpire called for a stoppage. Titan players and staff ran over the field with a tarp as fans ran for cover. The rain caused a 45-minute delay. Now let's get back to the action now, where a wild pitch brings in a Titan runner from third, giving the Titans the lead once again, 7-6. But the Stanford Cardinals would not go out without a fight, as they rallied back in the eighth with an RBI double to left by first baseman Matt Winokur. The Cardinals would later hold off the Titans, getting the fourth win of the season, 11-9.
So even though I think that the Titans baseball team has been a little bit inconsistent, I think they do have a lot of potential because on Friday we had Thomas Eshelman, who almost had a perfect game all the way up to the seventh inning. So I think they have a lot of game left.
Their pitching is looking strong and their hitting is looking like it's improving a lot from last season, and they're looking like a competitor this season. So it should be a very interesting season.
Definitely. Moving on to the tennis courts, Titan Tennis had a 4-0 non-conference victory over the Southern Utah Thunderbirds. Number 5, Kalika Slevkov defeated Laura Martin Lozano, and number 4, Emilia Borkowski defeated Alba Perez in their singles matches. In the doubles match, Alexis Valenzuela and Danielle Pham defeated Eugenia Marushko and Teresa De Enrique 6-0. The Titans host Eastern Michigan on Friday and Pacific on Saturday, both at 1:30 p.m.
Titans softball traveled to Palm Springs this past weekend for the Mary Nutter Classic, where they faced teams like Missouri, LSU, Texas A&M, Nevada, and Oklahoma State. It was a tough start for the Titans as they lost to Missouri, LSU, and Texas A&M, but it's a total 180-degree spin on Sunday as they snapped their 3-game losing streak to Nevada and Oklahoma State. Desiree Ibarra against the Cowgirls had one run on 6 hits and 4 strikeouts. Starter Christina Washington also had a great game as she went on to have a season best of 7 strikeouts. And here's your timeline highlighting the biggest home games in the next 2 weeks. Men's basketball has a 3-game road trip to CSUN on the 26th, Long Beach State on the 28th, and the Anteaters of UC Irvine on March 5th of 7 p.m. and host Hawaii for the final game of the regular season at 5 p.m. On the other hand, the women's basketball team finished off their homestand against CSUN, the 49ers of Long Beach State, and UC Irvine, and traveled to the beautiful state of Hawaii on Saturday, March 7th at 7 p.m. Titan Baseball hopes to improve their season against the NC Dinos from South Korea on Monday, February 23rd at 6 p.m. and continue their homestand against Baylor for a 3-game series. Pepperdine on Tuesday, March 3rd, and Texas Tech on March 6th to the 8th. The Titan women visited the Thunderdome in Santa Barbara and dropped their second straight road trip home on Saturday afternoon, 48-39. Senior Claire Watkins was the star with 10 points and 9 rebounds and shot 5 of 8 from the field. The Gauchos started with an early 8-1 lead in the first 6 minutes of the game. This is the second game that the Titans shot under 20% from the field and behind the three-point line. Senior Shantae Miles led the team with 12 points and Kathleen Iwuha with 15 rebounds. With 14:40 left in the game, Miles hit her second three-point shot to give the Titans their first lead of the game at 26-23. The Titans are now 4-8 in Big West Conference play.
So, you know that Alex Harris has been day-to-day with back issues. Do you think that that's going to be an issue for the team? I mean, finishing off their season, I mean, they're only, is it 1-10?
It's a tough loss for the team as he's been very productive this season, but I feel like they'll have a strong player to come off the bench and take his role, so it should be pretty good.
Yeah, sure hope so. ESPN March Madness Bracket Challenge is coming up in the next couple of weeks. Stay tuned and be prepared to pick your top teams in college basketball. More details to come on our next show.
And here's your timeline highlighting the biggest home games in the next 2 weeks. Men's basketball has a 3-game road trip to CSUN on the 26th, Long Beach State on the 28th, and the Anteaters of UC Irvine on March 5th at 7 p.m. and host Hawaii for the final game of the regular season at 5 p.m. On the other hand, the women's basketball team finish off their homestand against CSUN, the 49ers of Long Beach State, and UC Irvine, and travel to the beautiful state of Hawaii on Saturday, March 7th at 7 p.m. Titan Baseball hopes to improve their season against the NC Dinos from South Korea on Monday, February 23rd at 6 p.m. and continue their homestand against Baylor for a 3-game series. Pepperdine on Tuesday, March 3rd, and Texas Tech on March 6th to the 8th.
And remember all of our social media outlets. You can catch our entire video highlight library on our YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com/Titan Sports Recap. Follow us on Twitter. Our handle is @CSUF Sports Recap. Don't forget to tag us when you're at an athletic event. Find us on Facebook for updates on all Fullerton athletics. And check us out on Instagram for behind-the-scene photos. Follow us on Titan Sports Recap.
Well, that's going to do it for this episode of TSR. Thanks for joining us. I'm Daniel Montanez.
And I'm Vanessa Martinez.
Have a great night.
So, do it again.
The last part.
And remember all of our social media outlets. You can catch our entire video highlight library on our YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com/Titan Sports Recap. Follow us on Twitter. Our handle is @CSUF Sports Recap. And don't forget to tag us when you're at an athletic event. Find us on Facebook for updates on all Fullerton athletics. And check us out on Instagram for behind-the-scenes photos. Follow us at Titan Sports Recap.
Well, that's going to do it for this episode of TSR. Thanks for joining us. I'm Daniel Montanez.
And I'm Vanessa Martinez.
Have a great night.